Pokémon Scarlet delivered a delightful blast from the past, pulling in ancient paradoxes and revitalizing old favorites. But what newly discovered species could be considered the best? Well, let's not waste another second and take a look at what Paldea has to offer. There's no better place to begin than with the starters, and I think Skeledirge fits the bill with their spirited bird buddy giving them a distinct flair, and their signature torch song making them unstoppable special attacking juggernauts on the battlefield. Not only did Skeledirge deliver on Crocalore's Fireball Egg in style, but using that foul soul as a mic and stand gives this unaware singer a lot of charm. They also stray away from a lot of modern starter designs by being quadrupeds with pretty traditional proportions, but that presentation is by no means boring thanks to their blazing sideburns and festively skeletal patterns. I picked this pal for my adventure and there wasn't even a shred of regret. The same goes for our next Pokemon. Kicking off as a prototype power-up from the Mushroom Kingdom, Garganacl looks like they'd be right at home in Minecraft, but this peculiar pick manages to establish themselves as a pretty sturdy and towering competitor. The mineral-rich sodium that comprises their bodies can be used to treat injured Pokemon, but in a bout it can be leveraged through their signature Salt Cure to deal damage and sap an opponent's health each turn at a rate that feels criminal, especially when used against water and steel types. Let me tell you folks, I was sure to take advantage of that move at every opportunity during my playthrough. They might be all about the sodium, but it's their rivals that'll be leaving any encounter feeling a little salty. Shifting gears to something sweeter, you'd be hard-pressed to go through the path of legends and come out of it not having an appreciation for Mabosstiff. There's been plenty of dog designs throughout the generations, but this particular specimen brings a bit more personality through its sharp grin and piercing eyes. Some of them are skilled at stakeouts, but most of them focus their attention on intimidation tactics. Being prideful about protecting their family, a lot of them serve as guard dogs too, and can't be coerced into leaving the battlefield like other Pokemon. Now, it's easy enough to come by Garganacl and Mabosstiff during a playthrough, but that's not the case for every Pokemon. In a bid to actively complete the Pokédex during my playthrough, I kept swapping a Finizen into my team to try triggering evolution, but although I was playing in parallel with Super Battle Bud Will, we opted to not play multiplayer to avoid any pop-up spoilers. Suffice it to say, Palafin wasn't coming, and I was right to give up on them after a while. But I'd be lying if I said the novelty of that new form wasn't something swell. It's funny to see a Pokemon evolve only to gain a symbol on their chest, but the Zero to Hero ability is what makes this dolphin a prestigious pal to have on your side. I'm of the opinion that every academic institute training the next generation needs an All Might, folks, and Palafin holds that mantle proudly for Naranja Academy. In keeping with this theme, we have the Rellor line that I claim captures the spirit of Deku. Listen, just roll with it. Where Rellor in their purest form represents the enduring struggle of the everyman, Rabsca shows that through sheer grit and determination, anyone can go even further beyond and achieve greatness in spite of their humble beginnings. Anyway, I like Rabsca. I enjoy the concept of taking a ground-bound dung beetle and warping the creature into a transcendent floating scarab. The bug-psychic type combination is still pretty novel too, and the different accounts claiming the actual body of the Pokemon at this evolutionary stage isn't the beetle but what lies within makes for an interesting bit of lore. Rabsca also does something pretty unusual and has Speed Swap as a signature move, which instead of being wholly original to Paldea is actually a technique previously introduced in Alola and has gone on to see utility as a TM in Galar. Paldea didn't see many regional variants compared to those two generations either, but Wooper paved the way for a delightful new evolution that more than makes up for it. Clodsire are armed with not only a winning smile and adorable proportions, but the purple spots on their backs are actually rounded spines that can be protruded when threatened. They might not look the part of a seasoned fighter, but they know their way around a battle too. I can say my Clodsire got me out of many tough scuffles during my adventure courtesy of their high HP, strong special defense, and water absorb, which I'll say is a ridiculously overpowered ability for a ground poison Pokemon to have. These spiny fish Pokemon might not be as damp as their Jotonian counterpart, but they always get to the poison point. Clodsire isn't the only new evolution worth noting though. Before Paldea, I never thought we'd find ourselves in a timeline where Primeape of all monsters would find a place in my team, but here we are. I think Annihilape actually ranks among the best evolutions since their resurgence in Galar too. The concept of Primeape's rage bubbling high enough to unlock powers beyond the mortal coil is a hilarious concept, and the ghostly flare they adopt takes the base design of Primeape to a place that's much more visually interesting. Of course, you can't talk about Paldea's finest without shining a spotlight on the Mega Man of Pokemon, mighty number 936, Aramrouge. Created by handing auspicious armor made from Bronzor fragments to a Charcadet, this fire warrior can launch blazing blasts from their makeshift arm cannons like two-handed Megmortar. While some of their armor might be weak, you can always count on Aramrouge to ignite fire in a flash. There's definitely no shortage of cool designs in the modern day, but if we dive deep into the canonical past, I think you'll agree there is more in store, and there's no better creature to kick off those acknowledgements than the Winged King himself, Koraidon. Unlike the other Paradox Pokemon that share photosynthesis, this classic Cyclizar can unleash a powerful pulse to turn the sunlight harsh like a veritable Groudon. Koraidon also boasts a bunch of builds that correlate with their physical abilities, ranging from sprinting, swimming, and gliding all the way up to the battle-based Apex build. The fact they have built-in wheels but simply choose to run instead of leveraging them in any practical way really elevates their charm, too. Roaring Moon is another powerful primal beast, and might be the most thematically cool Paradox Pokemon thanks to its visual ties to the crescent moon design of Mega Salamence. Where their descendant feels like a pretty standard dragon, Roaring Moon has more distinctiveness courtesy of their feathered reptilian glider in place of typical wings, and their reputation for being even more aggressive feels appropriate given their Mega Evolution parallels and designation as a dark dragon type. Much like the Bagons of Hoenn found deep within Meteor Falls, these ancient dragons dwell in one of Area Zero's caves near Research Station 3, and I think being tucked away out of sight is what's best for these beasts given their temperament. Slither Wing, on the other hand, are a little more widespread throughout Area Zero, but they follow Roaring Moon's example by taking their descendants' more traditional appearance and putting a twist on it. In the case of this moth-like monster, that'd be through their reptilian tail and bulked up figure. As ancestors of Volcarona, it's clear Slitherwing have yet to develop their fire typing by name alone, and while they still boast those massive powdered flaps, they don't seem to use them. Considering their bulkier attack stat though, it's a good thing they forego flight to stay on the ground. Speaking of ground, I'd be remiss not to mention Great Tusk, which I dare say is the definitive Dawn fan. Having massive tusks and just being bigger in general is already better, but the fact Great Tusk has spikes, tufts, and more dynamic facial features gives this rendition much more fighting spirit than their descendants. As the only Paradox Pokemon to escape Area Zero and be designated a Titan, they're a real force to be reckoned with, too. How a flightless monster managed to breach that crater is an astounding feat and certainly worthy of recognition. But that's just my opinion on these Scarlet superstars. Paldea has no shortage of splendid designs, so consider me keen to hear your thoughts. Did I name off a handful of your favorites, or did I overlook some essential picks from your party? I'm curious to see how much overlap we might have, so head on down to the comments and let's have ourselves a discussion. Hey there, pal. Thanks for watching. I don't know about you, but I feel like Pokemon Scarlet knocked it out of the park with all the new species they added to the Pokedex. I'll tell you, it was an easy generation to build out a team of newcomers, but like I said, I want to know your thoughts, so be sure to share them. And since you watched this video, don't watch my Violet one. You've already made your choice of version, so you gotta commit.